Imagine a force so powerful it can literally outsmart ruthless predators, brave the absolute fiercest storms, and even, incredibly, challenge the very fabric of the universe itself. Well, today we're unpacking a truly breathtaking fable of ultimate survival. We're looking at the story of Chicky. She's a seemingly ordinary mother bird, but her extraordinary journey totally redefines the concept of resilience. This isn't just a story about a bird in a jungle. It's a literal masterclass in strategy, an exploration of primal fear, and just a massive testament to the absolute lengths a parent will go to for their kids. So let's get right into it, because we're going to break down this remarkable narrative step by step to understand the sheer power of a mother's boundless love. Right off the bat, our source material forces us to ask this incredibly profound question. What happens when a mother's love is tested not just by one element, but by the storm, the predators, and the universe itself? In this explainer, we're tracking an escalating dramatic arc. Chicky doesn't just face a single problem. No, the stakes compound. She starts with a desperate physical need to find food for her starving chicks, Chinku and Pinku. But as you'll see, that physical need quickly spirals into a life-or-death battle of wits, and ultimately a harrowing spiritual confrontation. Let's see how this intense pressure cooker of a scenario unfolds over a really short period of time. Okay, let's dive into this timeline. The pacing of this story is absolutely relentless. It maps out what is essentially 48 hours of pure terror. Just within the first hour, intense hunger strikes her baby chicks. By hour 3, a massive, unprecedented storm hits the jungle. By hour 5, Chicky finds herself ambushed by lethal predators in the dead of night. And just when you think she's survived the absolute worst, the 24-hour mark brings an entirely new, invisible enemy, a deadly viral infection. This timeline brilliantly sets up the relentless tension she faces. She barely has time to process one trauma before the next strikes, starting with that desperate physical need to feed her starving children. Section 1. The Unforgiving Storm. Hunger versus Danger. So, inside the nest, her two tiny chicks, Chinku and Pinku, are wailing from starvation, and they're terrified by this torrential downpour outside. To them, the falling water sounds like the sky itself is crying. Chicky is totally torn. If she stays, her children starve. If she leaves, she risks being swallowed by the elements. But she makes the only choice a mother really can make. Before she flies into the tempest, she delivers this gut-wrenching promise. Wait, my little ones. Mama will bring something, even if it costs my life, but don't look outside. I want you to really feel the desperation in that warning. She knows the outside world is an absolute nightmare right now, with lightning threatening to burn their nest to ashes. She commands them to hide, knowing that sometimes innocence just has to be shielded from the sheer brutality of nature. And, that brutality is quickly confirmed. As Chicky struggles through the wet, heavy air, she's actually forced to rest on a branch because her wings are completely soaked. It's there she meets Tony the parrot. Tony brings a chilling warning about the reality of the jungle during a storm. He shares this tragic anecdote about a mother pigeon. While the storm raged, a long black snake silently slithered up the branches, taking advantage of the chaos, and devoured the pigeon's chicks right out of her nest. Tony's story establishes a terrifying fact. The rain doesn't just bring water, it brings out the most desperate, hungry predators. The storm is actively hiding deadly threats. Moving on to Section 2. A Battle of Wits. Outsmarting the Hunters. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the dynamic shifts. Armed with the terrifying knowledge of the storm's hidden dangers, Chicky actually manages to find some grains of wheat. But as she navigates the dark, freezing winds to return home, two massive shadows block her path. She's ambushed. But look at who she's dealing with here. On one side, we have Kalu, a ruthless crow whose ego is so massive, he literally introduces himself as Death from Wing to Claw. And on the other side is Sultan, this incredibly arrogant eagle, boasting that he can easily strike down flying prey. It's pretty safe to say these two massive predators have egos far, far bigger than their brains. Chicky realizes instantly that her survival depends on pitting these two inflated egos against one another. Here's exactly how she pulls off this brilliant psychological tactic. First, she feigns absolute surrender, admitting they're terrifying and she can't escape. Second, she directly challenges their egos. Third, and guys, this is the genius move, she declares that she will only allow herself to be eaten by the one who is truly the strongest, the undisputed king of the hunters. This instantly sparks a furious rivalry. Katrilu and Sultan violently turn on each other, tearing feathers and fighting midair until they both crash to the ground, beaten unconscious. Step 4. Chicky quietly and swiftly flies away, completely unharmed. It's just a stunning display of intellect over brute strength.
Section 3. The Deadly Viral Fever, an Invisible Enemy.
She makes it back, feeds her children the wheat, and for a brief moment, the storm passes. But the physical predators are defeated only for the next morning to bring an invisible enemy, one she can't trick or outrun. As the sunlight hits the nest, she realizes Chinku is shivering, his tiny body burning with intense heat. Pinku begins to cough. In a total panic, she brings her burning, shivering chicks to Dr. Chintu, a wise mouse. His diagnosis is honestly chilling. In the context of this jungle, this viral fever is a life-threatening infection. It's not something a simple herb can fix. The chicks' tiny bodies have lost their fighting strength. Survival is now dangling by a thread, entirely dependent on their failing immunity and sheer, unpredictable fate. It is a terrifying abyss for any parent to stare into. And Dr. Chintu perfectly encapsulates this absolute despair. He tells her, "I can give medicine, sister, not miracles. Now it is up to your mamta, your motherly love, and God's will." I mean, imagine hearing that as a parent. He essentially tells her that from a physical and medical standpoint, the battle is over. These words push Chicky to the very edge of hopelessness. The physical world has failed her. If she wants to save her children, she has to look somewhere else entirely.
Which brings us to Section 4, Confronting the Universe, the Standoff at Peace Peak.
Driven by a relentless, stubborn motherly instinct, Chicky refuses to sit in her nest and watch her children slip away. So she embarks on one final, desperate flight to the very center of the jungle, heading for the tallest tree in existence. She arrives at a place called Shen Shigar, or Peace Peak, and this brilliantly illustrates the shift in the story. This isn't just a tall branch, it's a sacred sanctuary untouched by predators. No eagles or crows dare to circle here. It's a mystical place where the sky and the soul intersect, where every single leaf, gust of wind, and ray of light speaks the direct language of the universe. It's the ultimate higher court, and tiny, exhausted Chicky has just stepped right up to the podium. Standing on that peak, her voice booms with a fierce, incredible power that completely defies her small size. She looks up at the sky and declares, "I have not come to beg. I have come to fight you for my children." Wow. She explicitly states that she is not there to spread her wings in submission or plead for a favor. She is demanding an answer from the universe. She acknowledges she's just an ordinary bird, but points out that the love she holds for her children is anything but ordinary. It is a spine-tingling moment of absolute defiance. She then issues this earth-shattering ultimatum. If there is justice, give them back, or a dead mother's scream will echo for generations. This right here is the absolute peak of a mother's resilience. She refuses to accept defeat, challenging the very fairness and justice of the natural order. She demands to know why her innocent children were thrown into the fire of this fever. And her refusal to back down actually moves the universe. The tree she's perched on begins to speak, and a mystical voice simply tells her to go back and see. Section 5. The Ultimate Triumph. Life returns. So she flies back to her nest, her heart heavy but filled with a strange, inexplicable peace. The violent struggle, both physical and spiritual, is over. She's done absolutely everything a living creature could possibly do. The moment she steps inside, the silence is broken by a beautiful sound. Chinku speaks up, saying, "Mama, give me water, my lips are dry." That simple request is literally everything. It proves the terrifying fever has broken. The glassy look in their eyes is gone, replaced by a returning strength. The children have been returned to her. It's an incredible emotional release, proving that her seemingly impossible journey actually worked. So the crucial point is that Chicky's journey lays out a universal blueprint for surviving extreme adversity. Step 1, face your physical fears. She braved a deadly storm because her purpose was greater than her panic. Step 2, use your intellect to defeat brute strength. She outsmarted Kalu and Sultan when fighting them physically was just impossible. And step 3, never surrender your spiritual hope. When medicine and nature failed her, she demanded a miracle through sheer willpower and motherly love. She conquered every single level of adversity thrown at her. As we wrap up this incredible explainer, it leaves us with something deeply personal to reflect on. We might not be birds fighting crows in a thunderstorm, but the core of this story beats in all of us. When push comes to shove, what mountain would you climb, and what universe would you challenge for the ones you love? Think about that as you go through your day.